So, dear participants, we had the opportunity of listening to some of the uh, central ideas of Bhartrihari, uh, and let us continue with that little bit more. After Professor Tiwari's talk on the idea of Ṣphota, which is really one of the central ideas in Bhartrihari's philosophy of language. Uh, I shall uh, share my ideas of Bhartrihari from a different perspective. Okay, uh, uh, if we try to compare uh, Bhartrihari's philosophy of language with another very important um, philosopher of language of analytical tradition, namely that of Quine, uh, we can, I think, better understand the motive behind Bhartrihari's approach to philosophy of language. Um, and there is a reason why I am referring to Quine, because Quine, in his Word and Object, which is one of the most famous works of Quine, in a footnote on page 9, Quine refers to an article by somebody called John Burrow. And in that article, John Burrow, who was an Indologist, he talks about Bhartrihari. So Quine refers to that article of John Burrow where Bhartrihari's the defense of holism uh, is being explained, and Quine quite approvingly mentions that, and Quine, says that he is happy that his views, have been defended, have been supported by an ancient Indian grammarian. So this is the reason why I am trying to locate Bhartrihari's views on sentence meaning as opposed to that of Quine. Uh, in Bhakkapadiya, which is the magnum opus of Bhartrihari, Bhartrihari mentions 8 views about sentence meaning. One could, I guess, infer that all these 8 views that Bhartrihari mentions were popular during Bhartrihari's time. It is not clear which individual philosopher is the advocate of these views, because Bhartrihari does not mention the names of the philosophers. But still, I think even the views by themselves are quite interesting, and we can uh, place these views about sentence meaning against which Bhartrihari defends what he calls akhanda paksha, or sometimes what is in English known as sentence holism. What are these 8 views of sentence meaning that Bhartrihari refers to? First view. So these are the views about sentence meaning, vakyartha. These are the views that explain what sentence meaning is, what vakyartha is. The first view: sentence meaning is to be explained in terms of the verb, akhyata. So according to this view, akhyata is the central part of a sentence meaning. So an account of sentence meaning could be given in terms of the verb, of the akhyata of the sentence. All other elements in the sentence are explanatory, are auxiliary, are parasitic on this verb, akhyata. This is the first view. Yeah. The second view about sentence meaning is collection of words is what constitutes sentence meaning. In Sanskrit, Bhartrihari uses the word pada sanghata. So pada sanghata, sanghata is collection. Collection of padas is what constitutes sentence meaning. So collection is most important here. Pada sanghata is what that generates the meaning of a sentence. The third view is the universal or jati residing in the collection of the words is what constitutes the sentence meaning. So the third view talks about sentence meaning or explains sentence meaning in terms of a universal or jati that resides in the collection of words. So notice the distinction between the second view and the third view. Second view talks about pada sanghata. That's all. The third view goes further and talks about a jati, a universal, residing in this pada sanghata, in this collection of words. And this is what constitutes the sentence meaning. The fourth view says the indivisible Ṣphota is what the sentence meaning is all about. And just now we, listened to Professor Tiwari's very nice explanation of what this Ṣphota is. This Ṣphota is indivisible. It's unitary, it's whole. And that is what generates the sentence meaning. The fifth view says the order in the words, the order, padakrama, the order in the words is what the sentence meaning is all about. So padakrama, the order, is very important according to this view. So it is the krama, it is the order, it is the succession of the words that constitutes the sentence meaning. The sixth view that Bhartrihari mentions says the sentence meaning is what? The sentence meaning is that what we bring together through the order of the words in our mind. The sentence meaning stays in our mind. And how is this sentence meaning generated? Well, we bring together the order of the words. Okay. And this generates the sentence meaning in our mind. The seventh view says the sentence meaning is manifest in the first uttered word, prathamocharita pada. The sentence begins with a word, then other words follow. This view says, the seventh view that Bhartrihari mentions, says that this prathamocharita pada, the word that is uttered in the beginning of the sentence, the first word, is actually, contains the entire sentence meaning. So the rest of the words in the sentence meaning, explicates this prathamocharita pada, this first uttered word in the sentence. And the eighth view that Bhartrihari mentions holds that the expectancy or akanksha In hearing in the distinct words is what constitutes sentence meaning. So there are words in a sentence, and these words are sakanksha. These words have the relation of akanksha between them. And this akanksha, in hearing in the distinct words, is what generates sentence meaning. So these are the 8 views that Bhartrihari mentions in his Vakyapadiya. Now, out of these 8 views, third, fourth, and sixth views are called Khandapaksha, indivisibilist. So, what are the third, fourth, and sixth views? The third view is the universal residing in the collection of words. This constitutes a sentence meaning. This is the third view that talks about universal residing in the collection of the words. The fourth view is the Ṣphota theory. And the sixth view is the view that holds that the sentence meaning is what we bring together through the order of the words in our minds. So these 3 views are called by Bhartrihari as Akhanda Paksha, some kind of holistic theory of meaning. And the rest, first, second, fifth, seventh, and eighth, are known as Khanda Paksha, divisibilist. So this is how Bhartrihari distinguishes Akhanda Paksha from Khanda Paksha. Now, this Khanda Paksha, the divisibilist, who are the divisibilist? Who are the Khanda Paksha? First view, second view, fifth view, seventh view, and eighth view. So, other than 3 views, okay, rest are Khanda Paksha. Out of these 5 versions of Khanda Paksha, Bhartrihari again makes a subdivision of 2 groups. Second and fifth view are known as Avihitannayavada. What are these second and fifth views? The second view is Padasanghata view, collection of words, and the fifth view is Padakrama in the words, is what the sentence meaning is all about. So now you see, for Bhartrihari, there are 2 versions of Avihitannayavada. One is Padasanghata view, the other is Padakrama view. Why they are called Avihitannayavada by Bhartrihari? Because both these views, Padakramavadi and Padasanghatavadi, both these views talk about the individual meaning of the words independent of the sentential context. Padasanghata and Padakrama, these 2 views talk about padas, talk about the meaning of the padas, avihita, avidha, independent of the sentential context. So padas have their own meanings, and we collect the padas, we collect the meanings in a sentence, and that is how we get the sentence meaning. So this is true of Padakramavadi as well. We have the padas, and then we have the order of the padas, and looking at the order of the padas, we arrive at the sentence meaning. So according to Bhartrihari, this is important. According to Bhartrihari, Padakramavadi and Padasanghatavadi, both these are different versions of Avihitannayavada. And first view, seventh view, and eighth view are known as Annita Vidhanavad. So who are these Annita Vidhanavadins? First view. What was the first view? Akhyata. So people who hold that it is the akhyata, the verb, that really constitutes the sentence meaning. This is one view. Seventh view, what is the seventh view? Prathamocharita pada, the first uttered word in a sentence, is what really constitutes a sentence meaning. And eighth view is sakanksha pada, the akanksha, inhering in the distinct words, is what the sentence meaning is all about. So these three views, akhyatavadins, then prathamocharita padavadins, and sakanksha padavadins, these three views are known as Anvitabhidhanavada. Why are they called Anvitabhidhana? Because notice, in all these three views, the Prathamacharita Pada, the Akhyatavadins, and the Sakanksha Padavadins, according to all these three views, okay, the words get anvita, get connected with each other, get related with each other, and then the sentence meaning is generated. So, in the Abhitannayavada theory, padas have avidha, padas have meaning, and then they get anvita, they get related, and the sentence meaning is generated. But according to Anvita Vidhanavadins, Anvita comes first. Anvita means they get related, they get concatenated, and out of that concatenation, the sentence meaning arises. So this is how Bhartrihari, divides these 8 views of sentence meaning into Khanda Paksha and Akhanda Paksha, and then Khanda Paksha is also again divided into 2 groups, Avhitannayavada and Anvitabhidhanavada. Now, Bhartrihari is a strong defender of Akhanda Paksha, holistic view. So, according to Bhartrihari, padas do not have any meaning independent of the sentential context. So, Bhartrihari naturally would be opposed to Avhitannayavadins. Because according to Avhitannayavadins, padas have meaning, have avidha, and then they get related to generate sentence meaning. Bhartrihari does not accept this view that padas have their own avidha and then they get connected to generate sentence meaning. So how does Bhartrihari argue against this Khanda Paksha, this Avhitannayavadis? Now, according to this view, according to Avhitannayavadins, a view that Bhartrihari is trying to oppose, trying to refute, according to this view, a sentence is a collection of words. But certainly only words will not do. Words must have some relation between them. The collection of these related words express a related complete meaning. So this implies words have their own meanings, they have their own avidha. When words appear in a sentence, they bring their own meanings to the sentential context. But when the words come together in a sentence, the individual words come to express an additional meaning. This additional meaning was not present in the words taken individually. It is the collection or assemblage of the words that is responsible for the rise of this additional meaning. So it is the collection of the words for the Sanghata that gives rise to sentence meaning. This is the view of the Padasanghatavadi version of Avahitannavada. But there is another version we have noted, Padakramavadi. Those who give importance to the order krama, succession of words, think that the sentence meaning is to be found in the order of the words, in the succession of the words. This order or succession, this order among the words in a sentence is not expressible in words, nor is this order audible. This order is a temporal property because we are talking about succession, right? One word is uttered, followed by another utterance of another word, then another word, and so on. So this order is a temporal property, and we ascribe this order to the words. The sentence is nothing, according to these Padakramavadins, the sentence is nothing over and above this order. So the order is of utmost importance, according to the Padakramavadins. The sentence meaning resides in this order. Individual words alone would not suffice for sentence meaning. We have to get the sentence meaning in this order. Now, if this is, in brief, the main thesis of both Padasanghatavadin and Padakramavadin, notice both the collectivist, the Padasanghatavadin, and the successionist, the Padakramavadin, both these views claim that it is through the semantic power or Shakti of the word that the meaning is present. And the collection of this present meaning gets floated in expectancy. The power of the word, the Shakti, on the basis of which the collection of meaning gets floated in expectancy, is known as avidha. So first there are words, then meanings are present through the semantic power of the words, avidha. Individual meanings are incomplete, so they expect other meanings, akanksha. These expected meanings get joined together. So these sakanksha padas, their meanings get conjoined together. This joining is possible only because of abhidha power of the word. Thus, a sentence is explained in terms of the semantic power of the words, padashakti. The sentence meaning is explained in terms of mutually expectant meanings. So the sentence meaning actually is generated out of the sakanksha pada. So it seems, according to Avahitannayavada, that when the words designate avihita and as a result expected meanings get conjoined, we get the sentence meaning. Thus, in the analysis of a sentence, according to these two views, the Padakramavadi and the Padasanghatavadi, it is the words that get primacy. And this is the reason why Bhartrihari calls these two views, the Padasanghatavadi and Padakramavadi, as Padavadins, atomists, Khandapaksha. So this is the, Purva Paksha of Bhartrihari, Padavadins. And Padavadins are of two kinds, Padasanghadavadi and Padakramavadi, who are also called Avihitannayavada. Now, Bhartrihari is, opposing, showing certain difficulties in this view of the Padavadins. But then, not only Avihitannayavada, there is also another branch of Padavadins, which is known as Annita Vidhanavada. And Bhartrihari argues against both these versions of Padavada, namely Avihitannayavada and Annita Vidhanavada. So far, we have explained Avihitannayavada. What does Annita Vidhanavada claim? Remember, both these views, Avihitannayavada and Annita Vidhanavada, both these views are called by Bhartrihari as Padavadins, because both of them, in one way or another, ascribe primacy of meaning to the words. That is why they are called Padavadins by Bhartrihari. So now let us talk about the other version of Padavadins, namely Annita Vidhanavada. This theory, the Annita Vidhanavada, this theory has three different forms as mentioned earlier. People who think that the meaning of a sentence is embedded in the verb, akhyata, argue that on many occasions, from the mere verb, from just the word, one can get the whole meaning of the sentence. Of course, the sentence does not merely consist of the verb, but since we can understand the nature and method of action from the mere verb, one could very well argue that the sentence meaning is inherent in the verb, in the akhyata. So this is one version of Annita Vidhanavada. The other words, according to them, the other words in a sentence are clarificatory of the action denoted by the verb. They perform an auxiliary role by specifying the method of action, performer, etc. So, according to this view, the sentence meaning is to be found in the verb alone. Akhyata is the central element in a sentence meaning. This is one version of Annita Vidhanavada. The second form of Annita Vidhanavada, sometimes this theory in English is called connected designation theory. So this, Annita Vidhanavada, second version of Annita Vidhanavada, is the view that sentence meaning is embedded in the very first uttered word, Prathamocharita pada. The very first word in the series of words in a sentence actually contains in it potentially the meaning of the entire sentence. The first uttered word does not only denote its meaning, it also denotes the meaning of the whole sentence. Later uttered words only clarify, only explain, explicate the meaning of the first uttered word. They do not add anything new to it. So as the Akhyatavadins hold that the verb is a central part of the sentence and everything else some kind of is parasitic on it, is subsidiary to it. Similarly, the Prathamocharita Padavadins hold that the Prathamacharita pada is the central part in the meaning of the sentence, and the rest of the words in the sentence are really clarificatory. And the third version of this Annita is the view that words do exist independent of the sentences where they occur. So words do exist, but since a word expects another, sakanksha, collection of these expectant words give rise to the sentence meaning. So the collection of the expectant words is what really constitutes the sentence meaning. All the words uttered at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end have their own independent meanings. When these words occur in a sentence, right, then each word being related with other words, having the relation of expectancy, akanksha, manifests the sentence meaning. So these three views, which are the three views? The views akhyatavadins, then the prathamocharita padavadins, and then the sakanksha padavadins. All these three different forms of annita vidhanavadins hold that the meaning of a word is always connected with the meaning of other words. And we get to know the meaning of the sentence from the meaning of a word as related to the meanings of other words. That is why it is called annita abhihita. It's always annita. So meaning of a word is always related to the meaning of the other word, and we understand the meaning of a sentence only through words as related to each other. So it is through annaya, it is through uh, uh, no joining together, it is through concatenation of words together that is what constitutes the sentence meaning. So all these three views, the Akhyatavadins, the Prathamocharita Padavadins, and the Sakanksha Padavadins, all of them, that is why, can be called Annita Abhidhana Vada. So this is how Bhartrihari talks about Avihita Annayavada and Annita Abhidhana Vada. Now, if you now look at if you contrast this analysis of Bhartrihari with that of Quine, Quine might respond by saying that this connected designation view, this Annita Avidhana view, accepts that words do have meanings. They accept that individual independent words do have meanings, but concedes that meaning of a word is always related to the meaning of other words through mutual expectancy. So words, each individual word always is hooked onto other word through the relation of mutual expectancy, akanksha. So when we understand a word, we do not understand it in isolation. We do not understand it independent of the other words, because each word is hooked onto another word through akanksha. We understand an individual word as related to other words. So we understand a relational whole. Sentential unit is the primary focus in our understanding of meaning. This is how Quine might respond to Bhartrihari. One must note, it seems to Quine, the distinction between the Annita Abhidhana view and holism. Because Quine is an advocate of holism in his doctrine of meaning. Now, you know, apparently it might sound that Annita Abhidhana and holism come close to each other because both these views talk about the uh, the connection, the set of words having expectancy relation among them. But there's a distinction between the two. There's a distinction between Annita Avidhana view and the holism that Quine is trying to defend. Connected designation, Annita Avidhana view, does not deny meaning to individual words. Notice all these three views, the Akhyatavadins, the Prathamocharitapadavadins, and the Sakankshapadavadins. None of them, these are the different versions of Annita Avidhana, right? But none of these views uh, denies meaning to individual words. It only emphasizes the relational nature of word meaning insofar as our understanding the meanings of the words concerned. So, what these Annitavadhanavadins are trying to get at is they are drawing our attention to the relational nature, to the Sakanksha Pada, insofar as our understanding of the sentence, of the meaning of a sentence is concerned. Holism of Quine and Bragg would deny words to be the unit of meaning. This is very important distinction between Annita Vidhanavada and Quinean holism. At least this is how Quine, understands his version of holism. For Quine, holism means that the unit of meaning is not a single sentence. The unit of meaning is a set of sentences, a group of sentences. Why? Because on Quine's view, to put it very roughly, there are two kinds of sentences in our language. One kind of sentences are directly related to sensory experience. They are direct reports of sensory experience. But then there are other sentences in the language which are not so direct reports of our sensory experience, but they, in various ways, depend what their meaning on the meaning of the sentences that are direct reports of our sensory experience. So, roughly speaking, there are two kinds of sentences. Observation sentences that are direct reports of our sensory experience, and there are theoretical sentences which are dependent on, related to, in many ways, to these observation sentences. Now, if you change the meaning of any observation sentence, that will have some repercussion on the meaning of the theoretical sentences, because theoretical sentences are related to or dependent on for their meaning on the observation sentences, right? So, change in the meaning in one sentence of my set of sentences necessitates a change in the meaning of sentences in the other part of my set. So, what is the then lesson for us? Quine. For Quine, the lesson is the unit of meaning is not one single sentence. The meaning, the unit of meaning is this set of sentences. And that is why any change anywhere in the set of sentences necessitates change in the meaning of other sentences in that set. So this is why Quine, defends what he calls holistic view of meaning. But then, so Quine is also talking about, in some sense, of holism. Bhartrihari is also defending what he calls Akhanda Paksha in his attempt to refute the Khanda Paksha, the Padavadins. And we have seen there are two kinds of Padavadins, Annita Vidhana and Avihita Nayavada. And in all these views, one needs to understand the fine distinctions between the views that Bhartrihari is opposing, the view that Bhartrihari is defending, and also the view that Quine is, defending. Now, this Avihitannayavada, which is one version of Padavadins, according to Bhartrihari, comes close to what Frege calls context principle. If we understand Frege's context principle as proposing that words do have meaning of their own, words do have meaning of their own, but we understand the meaning of a word only in the context of a sentence. So, insofar as understanding the meaning of a sentence is concerned, it is the sentential context that comes to the focus, not the individual words. If we interpret the phrase, and this is what Frege used while talking about his context principle, understand its meaning only in the context of a sentence. If by this we mean that the sentential connection plays the clarificatory role with regard to the meaning of a word, then Frege's context principle would fit nicely with Avihitannayavada. Avihitannayavadins are always talking about mutual expectancy, right? Sakanksha pada. So Sakanksha pada, denotes understanding the meaning of a sentence in terms of the Sakanksha pada, in terms of the words having the relation of mutual expectancy. And this is where I think Frege's context principle becomes very, very relevant. Bhartrihari is, of course, opposed to Padavadins. So Bhartrihari would be opposed to both the versions of, Padavadins, namely Avihitannayavada and Annitadhidanavada. What are the arguments that Bhartrihari offers? I have tried to reformulate, Bhartrihari's arguments in contemporary philosophical jargon. So one could talk about three arguments put forward by Bhartrihari against Padavadins. Because Bhartrihari is a Vakyavadi. For Bhartrihari, a sentence is the primary unit of meaning. And as we have just noted, for Quine, not an individual sentence, but set of sentence is the primary unit of meaning. So what are the arguments that Bhartrihari offers, against the Padavadins, against the Khanda Paksha? One could talk about three arguments. One is the logical argument, the second is the epistemological argument, and the third is the pragmatic argument. All these arguments are arguments against Khandapaksha, against atomistic view of meaning. Logical argument. Word theory argues that we get to know the object only through the knowledge of the word and its meaning. Fair enough. In a sentence, it is through adding the meanings of the latter words to those of the former words that we come to know the meaning of sentence, right? So, Ram goes to the school. In this sentence, when we say Ram, we think of the person. When we say goes, then the meaning of the verb is added to the meaning of the word Rama, and so on, right? So, it is in a sentence, it is through adding the meanings of the latter words to those of the former words that we come to know the meaning of the sentence. Understanding the meaning of a sentence is a cumulative process. So we are adding, right? Ram, then to the meaning of the word Ram, we are adding goes. Then to the meaning of the Ram goes, we are adding the meaning of school, etc. So this is a cumulative process. In this accumulation, former words shed their individual meanings. So when I say Ram goes, we are not talking about Ram in any ways. We are talking about Ram's going. Ram's a certain kind of activity of Ram, namely going. So you see, the original one part of the meaning of Ram, okay, gets to the background when we say Ram goes, because the meaning of goes then is added. So in this accumulation, former words shed their individual meanings. They cast off some of their meanings. Unless we accept this individual meaning dropping off, the sentence meaning would not arise at all. So it is through dropping off the meanings of the earlier words that the sentence meaning is constructed. But through this falling off, when you come to the last word of the sentence, since all the previous words have shed their meanings, we have to say that the sentence meaning is generated out of meaningless words, because earlier words have really shed their meanings. Earlier words have really set aside their meanings. So it amounts to then saying that the sentence meaning is generated out of meaningless words. This is an absurd position. We cannot accept this, right? So the main point that Bharati likes to make here is that if one accepts that words do have meaning of their own, and then in the cumulative process of grasping the meaning of a sentence, former words, by giving up their own meanings, add bit by bit to the totality of the sentence meaning. If we accept this, then we have to say that it is by dropping off the meanings of the words that we get the sentence meaning. In this continuous process of letting drop or casting off their meanings, when you come to the last word, all the previous words have given up their own meaning. Consequently, what we have to accept is that the sentence meaning is produced by units that have dropped their meanings. Meaningless units give rise to sentence meaning, it seems. And this is surely something we cannot accept. So, Bhartiari's first argument, that I call logical argument, is this: that if we accept that words do have meaning independent of the sentential context, then we are led to this absurd conclusion that the sentence meaning is generated out of a set of meaningless units. Because it is only through cumulative process of the words shedding off their, casting off their, setting aside their meanings, they are being added to the meanings of the later uttered words. And this, you know, leads to the view that sentence meaning is generated out of meaningless words. This is something surely we cannot accept. So, this is what I call logical argument. The second argument that Bharti theory offers is called epistemological argument. This epistemological argument is fairly commonsensical. I'm using Bharti theory's example, but we can give many examples from our own day-to-day practice, day-to-day linguistic use. Individual words do not have their constant meaning. In the word Rajapurusha, this is Bharti's example. In the word Rajapurusha, royal man, man of a royal family, okay, man, somebody associated with the royal family, Rajapurusha. Raja means someone related to the royal family, someone related to the king or king's family. But Raja could also be interpreted as a verb meaning to stay. Raja means viraja, atra virajate. So Raja is some kind of, I can ask you, Raja Mahanta. So Mr. Please be here. So Raja might also be interpreted as a verb meaning to stay, to be here, to be present. Then Rajapurusha could mean, oh man, you stay. So you see, ordinarily by Rajapurusha we mean a man related to the family of king. But then if you accept the view that individual words have meaning independent of the larger context, then Raja could also mean you stay, and then Rajapurusha might be interpreted as meaning, oh man, oh mister, you stay. But this is not what we mean by the word Rajapurusha, and nor is it the intended meaning. Moreover, when we know the meaning of a compound verb without knowing the meaning of the elements in it, this is also quite familiar. In order to know the meaning of Ashwakarna, this is again Bharti's example, Ashwakarna, one does not need to know the meaning of Ashwa. It is enough to if one knows the tree named Ashwakarna. Ashwakarna is the name of a kind of tree. So, to know the meaning of Ashwakarna is to know the tree, which is the meaning of the term Ashwakarna. You don't have to know the meaning of Ashwa and Karna separately. So the expression, the tree which has leaves like the ears of horse, the Karna of Ashwa, is only explanatory, and knowledge of it is not a prerequisite to the knowledge of the meaning of Ashwakarna. Right? So this can be generalized and further argued, according to Bhartrihari, that it is only through our knowledge of the whole sentence that we come to the individual words and learn their meanings. So this is what I call epistemological argument. Our knowledge of the meaning of the compound word. The third argument that Bhartrhari offers is could be called pragmatic argument. What does this pragmatic argument propose? In order to attain the knowledge of the science of language, Vyakarana, we have to read the relevant literature, grammar. Once through the knowledge of grammar, we get to know the construction of a word, the etymological analysis of a word, individual words hardly play any role anymore. Now, this grammar, this Vyakarana, could be of many kinds. We have Paninian grammar, we have non-Paninian grammatical systems as well. And all these grammatical rules depend on sentences. All the grammatical rules, okay, are somehow parasitic on or dependent on or aimed at analyzing sentences. Each of these different kinds of grammar depends for justification on their rules of sentential analysis. It is through sentence and its meaning that we think of a word. Sentence and its meaning is central to grammatical analysis. Word and its meaning are only our construction. So, this pragmatic argument basically, draws our attention that if we look at the grammars, if we look at the different grammatical systems, all of them are trying to analyze sentences. All of them are trying to, propose their rules of grammar in terms of sentences. It is only after we learn those grammar, after we, are in a position to have a mastery of these grammatical rules, we can look at words, we can talk about words, we can analyze those words, etc. But they are only for our understanding. They're only for our analysis. So, if we look at the nature of the grammatical rules, it is evident, according to Bhartrhari, that sentence becomes the primary unit of meaning. Now, against this background, I think there are 3 points that come out of this discussion. First, understanding the meaning of a sentence is a temporal, cumulative process. It's a temporal process, and it's a cumulative, it's adding. Second, often knowledge of the meaning of a word is not a necessary prerequisite to our knowing the meaning of a complex word or expression, as Ashwakarna, etc. Third, different grammars analyze grammatical structure of words in different ways and carry out their analysis with reference to sentential wholes. Since Bhartrhari is primarily a linguist, he has focused on the intricacies of grammaticality of words and sentences and on our understanding them. That is why the grammarian analysis centers around the whole sentence. Because our communication, loka vyavahara, is possible only through a complete sentence. Sometimes one-word sentences that Quine calls holophrastic sentence. It is quite true that when you see a picture, we see different colors. But the knowledge that we have of the picture is one whole knowledge. One could, of course, talk of words and further division in words, but this is done only for teaching the science of language to the students. Hence, the division of the whole sentence into words and further divisible units are artificial and derivative, according to Bhartrhari. So, if understanding the meaning of a sentence is a temporal, cumulative process, one could explain this point by saying that a process involves certain moves which are momentary. In order to know the whole process, one does not one does need to know all the moves involved. Thus, in the process of understanding the meaning, we have to grasp the meaning of the whole sentence. Now, contrast this view of Bhartrihari, that is known as Akhanda Paksha, sentence holism, we can say, with Quine. As a grammarian, Bhartrihari was primarily interested in natural language. And that is why his arguments rest on the nuances of spoken language. But Quine is primarily interested in the structure of a physical theory. And that too in the context of confirmation of a physical theory. And in that context, that picture that I talked about, two kinds of sentences, observation sentences and theoretical sentences, this picture of language becomes very important. While discussing such a structure, Quine has talked about holism of a physical theory, and that too in the context of confirmation of a physical theory. This might be called confirmation holism of Quine. But this confirmation holism, which is basically, a predicate of a theory, a physical scientific theory, this confirmation holism implies that the unit of meaning is not an individual sentence, rather a group or set of sentences. So Quine arrives at holism from what one might call confirmation holism of a physical scientific theory. So Quine's meaning holism is actually a consequence of confirmation holism, which is basically concerned with the structure or the confirmation of a physical theory. When Quine talks of meaning holism, he talks of a large chunk of a theory, a group of sentences facing the tribunal of experience in order to receive its confirmation. So Quine's holism extends over a set of sentences, whereas Bhartrihari's holism extends over a single whole sentence. Quine's holism might be called theory holism, and Bhartrihari's holism can be called sentence holism. In a way, theory holism precisely denies what sentence holism says. But then, both Quine and Bhartrihari are on the same board, but their difference lies in their different perspectives. Quine's is a physicalist perspective, while Bhartrihari's is a linguistic perspective. It looks as though Bhartrihari's sentence holism comes close to Frege's context principle. For both Frege and Bhartrihari emphasize the importance of the sentential unit in our understanding meaning. Frege was interested in coming up with the theory of number as the foundation of mathematics. And by the way, it is an interesting phenomenon that mathematics has been the ideal in Western philosophical tradition, whereas it seems that linguistics, Vyakarana, of course with special emphasis on Sanskrit language, has been the rallying point in Indian philosophical tradition. So, being loyal to that tradition, Bhartrihari embraces the linguistic viewpoint. Quine is primarily interested in explaining how the meager input on our sensory surface gives rise to torrential output in the form of a complicated theory of the external world. That is why, for Quine, an account of the structure of a physical theory becomes very important. Although Quine has departed from his tradition by denying the plausibility of analytic synthetic distinction, but still at the same time, Quine believes in the parallelism of confirmation of a physical theory and our language learning mechanism. And that is why his confirmation holism, Quine's confirmation holism, spills over to meaning holism of natural language. In view of these, one can pose three questions. And it would be interesting to explore how Quine and Bhartrihari would respond to these questions. I'm not going into the details of that. I'm just, posing these three questions, and you can, find out how Quine and Bhartrihari, and of course, later philosophers of language, could respond to these three questions. First, does a word have meaning only in the context of a sentence? So we are talking about a word having a meaning. The second question, can we know the meaning of a word only by knowing the meaning of the sentence where the word occurs? So the second question is concerned with the knowing the meaning of the word. First was having the meaning, word having the meaning, and the second one is knowing the meaning of a word. So the first one is more, ontological in nature. The second one is epistemological in nature. And the third question, assuming that individual words have meaning, how do we know the meaning of the sentence, which is a collection of individual words? In other words, how can we give an account of our knowledge of the meaning of a sentence, assuming that individual words do have meaning? So these three questions, I think, are very important, and one could try to respond to these three questions on behalf of Bhartrihari, on behalf of Quine, and later day philosophers of language. And this perhaps would, help us in exploring new insights, both from Bhartrihari's theory and from also contemporary theories of meaning and language. So I end here. So if you have any questions or clarifications to ask, you are most welcome to come forward.
Sir, first I want to know, sir, can you repeat the exact name of the essay which where W. Quine referred to John Barrow's discussion on Bhartrihari's literature?
Yeah, this you will find on page 9 of Word and Object.
Word and Object. Thank you, sir.
Page 9.
Thank
In
you,
a footnote.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Sir, my second question is regarding W. Quine's classification of sentences. There are two kinds of sentences, observational and theoretical. So, regarding the place of logico-mathematical sentences, our common sense is telling that logico-mathematical sentences will be theoretical sentences. But sir, you told that W. Coyne stated that theoretical sentences are dependent on observational sentences. But our common sense is also saying that logico-mathematical sentences are not dependent on observations from natural sciences. So, what will you tell about this problem?
Yes, yes, this is very interesting area. See, uh, Quine argues that in principle, even the logico-mathematical sentences are revisable. They are subject to revision in principle. But then, as he says in his characteristic way, scientists are by nature very conservative. They, even if some change is required in the light of, uh, you know, new experience, they try to minimize the repercussion of that change, especially with regard to logico mathematical sentences. Why? This is a matter of expediency, a pragmatic reason. Because once we change the meaning of logico mathematical statements, that would necessitate a radical revision in our theory, which will be very extremely difficult for us to handle. So, we normally try to uh, 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 minimize the effect of any change in our system. But in principle, Quine says even the logico mathematical statements are subject to revision.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I have another question, sir,
Yeah.
regarding regarding Bhartrihari's three arguments against Khandapaksha. The first logical argument, sir. I have some problem with this argument, sir. My point is, sir, if I am considering this proposition, Ram goes to school. Now, Ram can have a lot of meaning. Now, the verb goes, it also can have a lot of meaning. Now, Ram and goes, when these two words are coming together, they are having a unique combination. Then after Ram and after that, this particular union Ram goes with two. When they are having a combination, Ram goes and two in between, they are also having a unique combination. And after that, Ram goes to this particular unit with the word school. They are having another combination. They are also having a unique combination. So where Bhotrihar is saying that these particular words are shedding their meanings, and at the end, all the words are shedding their meaning. So meaningless words are making the meaning of a sentence. So can we say that instead of that, can we say that all these words in the end actually for their unique combination at least having one particular meaning? That is why the whole sentence is producing one particular meaning.
Yeah, I mean, this is there is a jugglery with some argument here that Bhattacharya, I think, gives. But I think the point that Bhattacharya wants to make is that when I say Rama, okay, I'm talking about the person. That person has several features, several aspects, etc., etc. But then when I add the word goes, I'm not talking about Ram in all its aspects. So I'm only talking about Ram as far as his going aspect is concerned. So
Yes, yes.
what this means is that all other aspects of Rama are now set aside. Now,
But the
if
going,
we
but sir, now the
sorry,
but sir, still all the aspects are we are setting aside here, but still the going aspect is there. Rama is
yes,
still going. That is still
yes,
existent. That aspect. I'm
yes,
I'm talking about that. I mean, it's not
yeah.
meaningless. It's still having
No,
at
I
least
mean,
one aspect.
when we come to goes, many of the meanings of Rama are set aside,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Similarly with goes, similarly the other words that follow. So if we keep on, uh, you know, um, explaining this temporal cumulative process, okay. So what we end up in saying that the words generate the sentence meaning by shedding off their different aspects of meaning.
Yes, yes.
So the sentence meaning then is generated out of words, you know, setting aside their meanings.
Okay.
So this is how I think word theory tries to argue that, this is some kind, this position would lead us, to an absurd conclusion.
I mean, he's saying that one kind of deduction is constructing another kind of
Yes,
construction. Here is
yes, yes,
inconsistency. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
got it,
yeah,
sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Eh,
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, during your sir delivering your lecture, just a sentence I remind. The meaning of a word is connected with also the meaning of the other words.
Mm,
In this context, sir, I remind Wittgenstein's one stanza in philosophical investigation. He says that to understand a sentence means to understand a language. And to
mm, mm,
understand a language means to be the master of a technique. So,
mm.
sir, are you saying something in Wittgensteinian type of philosophizing, or in case of sir Bhartrihari?
No, see, yeah, you're right. I mean, many of these views could be found in different ways in many other philosophers' works. But what in the context that I was talking about is an attempt to account for our knowledge of sentence meaning.
Yes.
And one of the uh, versions of that account, talks about this Sakanksha Pada. This Pada, okay, they have their independent meanings, but these meanings are related in terms of mutual expectancy, and this actually, according to some people, actually gives rise to our knowledge of the sentence meaning. So you are right. I mean, similar ideas could be found in many other philosophers, including Wittgenstein. Yes, of course.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Mm. Any other question or comment? Okay, in that case, let us end our session today.